Alright, so today we're playing Battlefield 3 in 2025. It's now been 14 years. Holy shit. Yeah, it's like crazy sometimes when I say that out loud, like not realizing, like, yeah, I know deep down it's an old game, and I know it came out in 2011, but to actually, like, hear that, yeah, 14 years. It's been longer since the game came out than the age that I was when it was released. I was actually 13 when I played the game. So that's just crazy to me. It's been more than half my life that this game has been out. And visually, I think it still looks amazing for a game that's as old as it is. It really was truly ahead of its time in terms of graphics, gameplay, and overall presentation. It was way beyond anything else I had ever played at the time. It was a true, like, it felt like a next gen experience despite being released on the PS3 and 360. But honestly, that being said, it really is a completely different experience if you get the PC version. I mean, you really don't have any other option anymore anyway, because they recently shut the servers down for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. So if you want to play this game online, PC is the only way to go in 2025, which is a good thing because the PC version is just like, in terms of, yeah, having to play 64 players, having that option because it was locked to 24 players, I believe, on PS3 and 360. So it's a lot better having more players to be able to play in these really big maps that we got in BF3 instead of it just being empty and having a harder time actually running into an enemy. So that's one great thing. Obviously, the graphics, the frame rate was a huge thing because it was not running at a great frame rate and resolution on the old consoles. So just overall, like, if you've played, and this is the experience I had, if you played it originally on PS3 or 360, and then you go to PC, you're really experiencing the game all over again for the very first time. So I think there's a lot to look forward to for those players like that are, moving on from console onto PC and haven't played that before. It really is. It feels like a remaster of the game in comparison. As far as the actual player base is concerned, there are a lot less people playing Battlefield 3 than there were even a couple years ago, and it's a small fraction of the player base that you get in games like Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5 that have like 30,000 active players on Steam right now, give or take. And Battlefield 4 has about it's anywhere from like 1,500 to 2,500. Well, this game usually peaks at 200 players actively at the same time on Steam. Now, that being said, you get more players who have the game on EA Play or Origin that don't own the Steam version, because remember, this game, I believe, was the first major release from EA to not be on Steam. Remember, they took their games off Steam for a long time. BF3 was the first game to have that. So there are a lot of people that own the PC version that don't have the Steam version. So the Steam charts don't tell the entire story. But generally speaking, it is a lot harder to find games in Battlefield 3 compared to Battlefield 4. It's not impossible. It's definitely... It's far from dead. I'm not going to say Battlefield 3 is a dead game. You'll still be able to find full conquest servers from time to time. You'll get Team Deathmatch, and occasionally you'll get Rust, but that also varies depending on where you live. So if you're like me, if you live in North America, you'll be pretty good, at least if you live in the East Coast, because a lot of the servers that I end up having to connect to are Europe-based. So if you live in, like, the West Coast of the U.S., you have less options in terms of matchmaking because there are far more Western European servers than there are North American servers that are active, which it sucks compared to Battlefield 4, where you have plenty of North American servers. But yeah, just telling you guys that, depending on where you live, you're going to have a much different experience. I wouldn't even bother trying to play this game if you live in Australia or Asia or other regions of the world, South Africa or South America and Africa, like any region really that's far away from Western Europe, North America. You're going to have a hard time. One thing that I really hate about this game that was the case from the beginning but has still never been fixed or changed is that you do not have a regular in-game server browser. In order to browse the server and connect to a match, you first have to go to Battlelog on your web browser and then click join, and then you're able to connect to a game. It's so convoluted and so weird that that's how it works. It's kind of frustrating, But, you know, it is what it is. It's still very much playable. There's no issues. I don't run into any problems with my connection. I don't run into any cheaters or hackers or anything like that. Nothing that would be like, maybe I wouldn't recommend you try this game in 2025. No, like, it's all still there. It's still Battlefield 3 in its purest form, for the most part. It would be nice if you had some more people playing online, but it's still enough where you can get a good experience in 2025. If you played Battlefield 4 previously but never played 3, you'll love 3 because 3 and 4 have very similar gameplay and are just overall, like, very close to each other because they're both modern military settings, and Battlefield 4 only came out 2 years after Battlefield 3. Battlefield 4 felt like a real next-gen experience for me because I had Battlefield 3 on PS3, but Battlefield 4 on PS4. So it was my first time ever playing with 64 players on the console in Battlefield, and it felt like, and the graphics and everything were so much better. But especially on PC, the two games feel more similar than not if we're comparing the PC versions to the console versions. But yeah, I would recommend this in 2025, especially if you're a Battlefield fan specifically and you want to experience all the Battlefield games throughout the history of the franchise, since we're anticipating a new game, which hopefully that goes better than 2042. It's going to go back to the modern military setting that we haven't seen since Battlefield 4, so especially like going back to the modern military games instead of playing, like, you know, 2042, which is futuristic, and Battlefield 5, which is World War II, you know, I'll put that in heavy air quotes, and Battlefield 1, which is World War I. Like, you know, it's nice to go back to where, honestly, in my opinion, the Battlefield series peaked, and that was from 2011 to 2013, 2014. Even though Battlefield Bad Company 2 is my personal favorite, that is still my favorite Battlefield of all time, and I'm going to be covering that game fairly soon in the near future, so stay tuned for that. And I'll be also playing some other older Battlefield titles, like Battlefield 1942, Battlefield 2, 2142, so stay tuned for more Battlefield content in the future. But for now, yeah, let me know in the comment section if you guys still play this game in 2025, 14 years later, and what are your overall thoughts on Battlefield 3, and maybe share some of your favorite memories playing the game in the comments down below. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.